Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Indie Strings. I want to start off by saying Happy Easter to everyone who celebrates this holiday, and I hope that you're having a wonderful time and being able to spend it with your family and friends. So it's a beautiful day here. It is in the high 60s, almost 70s, sunny without a cloud in the sky. Couldn't ask for a better holiday weekend, and we have taken full advantage of it and going outside and playing. I have a 4-year-old, and I tell you what, that big slide at the park is such a draw. But let's start off with what I'm currently working on in my knitting. So last week, as you will remember if you watched it, is that I am currently knitting on a sweater, knitting on the Lemongrass sweater, and it's coming along nicely. I wish I would have done more. Of course, I could say that every single week. I always think that I have more time than I actually do, and I have all these plans to get everything done, and it never works out. But hopefully I will have it done this coming week, and it will have a cold snap for a day. That is very unlikely. If it doesn't get cold enough, I'll probably just put it away to next winter. But this is knit out of Madeline Toft's Chunky in the Steam Age colorway, which is a blend of blues and purples and grays. I think it will look great with jeans. And I did finish off that one sleeve this week, actually after I recorded last week, and since then I haven't touched it. All I have to do is pick up for this arm, this sleeve around the armhole, and knit down, and I'll be done. It will only probably take me not that long, you know. It's only one sleeve to go, so I'm really nearing the end in this, and I don't know what it is, but it's always a stopping point for me on a sweater is the sleeves, to pick them up and knit down. So I always stall a little bit at this point, but I do always eventually get it done. It's really a lovely pattern. It's really great, and I forgot to mention last week, which I did want to talk a little bit about this week, is the increases. So hopefully I can get a good, those are my increases. Pre-blocked, and it's a cable increase. I have actually never worked a cable increase on a sweater before, and it's quite lovely. The effect is pretty subtle. I thought it would be a little bit more dramatic because you are doing a small cable crossing there, but it's really nice. It lays flat and it makes that shaping and the increase for your sleeve very prominent, and gives a nice, interesting detail to the sweater. Other than that, the sweater is pretty simplistic. You know, you have this basket weave cable down the front, which is really nice. We talked about that last week. And a nice wide turtleneck. But other than that, really the only other focus on the top half are these increases here. And I will totally do them again in the future. They were not that difficult, and I do like the effect. They're very different than anything else I've seen before, and part of the reason why I knit is to be a little different. Well, to have different items. So we'll get this in process this week, hopefully pick up those arms and knit down and have a little bit more progress for you next week, if not a finished sweater. I said a finished sweater last week that I wanted to have it done for this week, so I'll do the best that I can. And then my small project that I'm working on is actually a new project, and that is the Brown Eyed Susan shawl. And let me get the pattern for you. It is actually the cover pattern. Oh, upside down, sorry about that. Juju's Loops, and it's this beautiful shawl right here. This is a wonderful pattern. It comes in 2 sizes, small and large, but it also comes in 2 weights, a fingering weight, which I am knitting it out of, and a DK weight. It also includes instructions for this striped version here, or a solid version. And so there's a lot of different variety to this pattern, and it's well written. This book is out of the UK, but the terminology is identical except for the crochet terminology. One of my downfalls as a knitter is that I don't read all the way through the pattern before I start it. Now, I read through the section I'm working on, but I don't go all the way to the end typically. Kind of like a little adventure, I guess, but If I would have read through this, I would have seen that the bind off, which I'll show you what that looks like. It's this. Sorry, I'm trying to look at the camera at the same time. This edge right here is actually crocheted, and I don't crochet at all. Not even a little bit. So it'll be interesting. And those terms are in UK crochet terms. And so since those are significantly different than the American terms, in which what they say in America, it just basically does not translate. It's the same terminology, but they mean different things. There is a nice, helpful paragraph about conversion and that what it actually means if an American is reading it, but dang it all. It's a little overwhelming to me as a person who doesn't crochet and then has to try to figure it out from what they're saying. So it's probably painless. And we'll figure it out when we get there. I'll think on it and think if I want to modify the bind off to be something else that looks probably not nearly as good. If I want to do a straight bind off and not, the bind off actually kind of loops with the crochet. If I don't want to do the loops, or if I want to take a stab at it. We'll see, I guess, how I feel when I get there. But let me show you the project so far. So this is it. It's knit out of 2 shades of charcoal, or gray, I guess I should say. One's charcoal, the darker one, and one is sea smoke. And, you know, really classic looking. And I really do enjoy it. I knit with quite a bit of color, and so this is a break from the norm, but I think I'll be able to wear it with everything. The yarn I'm using for this is called Swan Island. Here, Pure Blends, there we go, which is a wool alpaca mix. And it's 550 yards per skein, very generous. It is on the lighter side. And it's a great yarn. I've heard a lot about it, and I really honestly just wanted to try it to see if, you know, what everyone's saying was true. And it is nice. It does have a different feel than anything else I've ever worked with before, but I quite like it. It's nice and light and airy. These yarns are all dyed naturally with no chemicals. And I heard once, and I don't know if it's true, but I would really love it if it was true, that they dry their yarns when possible outside in the salty sea air, because they are in Maine on the coast. So that would really be fabulous. You know, as some people do, I smell my yarn, and I was just sitting there thinking, oh, I hope that this dried outside in the salty air. But the other thing I really enjoyed about this yarn is that the charcoal, which I'll hold up the ball so you can see a better contrast. They are really good. This one is called charcoal, and that one came with an additional note on the skein, which is lovely. And the note talks about how it was dyed. It was used with indigo, and indigo sometimes can rub off, and so they put in there this lovely tag that talks about the process, and if you have some transfer when you knit the yarn. I haven't had any transfer, but I'm knitting this at a pretty loose gauge, so I'm not holding my yarn very taut, but I've had nothing. And so I just thought that was very considerate, and it was kind, because if I do have dye runoff, I do worry about that. When I bought the yarn from a lovely yarn store in Corvallis called Stash, they did warn me that there can be some bleeding when you knit with their yarns, especially the indigo. So hopefully I'm gonna, when I block it, I'll do a color catcher and we'll see what it does. But kind of trying to not think about it. Forge ahead. So next, that's all I'm working on. But next, let's go to finished objects. So the first finished object is my Arbutus by Jane Richmond from the book Island. She's right here. And let me show you a picture of the pattern. I don't want to show you the pattern page, I'm sorry. So hold on. There it is. And I knit mine out of Hazelnut's DK Lively in the Violetta colorway. It's actually right behind me on my mannequin. And I'll put it on for you. There's a few things about this pattern that were really great design elements. And the first is that the back, as you can see, is not as wide as the front. And so when you put it on, there's not that scrunching of all of that bulk in the back of your neck. It is wide. It's more than a hand span for me. And it does cover my full neck, but it's just not extra bulk that I don't really need. So, well, and then I put it on upside down, of course. Although that also looked fine. So this is what it is. When I first got it off the needles and put it on before blocking, I didn't really know about it, but the more that I wear it and the more that I look at it, I do like it. It has a lot of movement in it, and it's got a visual interest that I've never had with another cowl because of that tiered section. And I just really like it. The yarn is squishy, and it's a really good color. I wear this color quite a bit, this saturated purple, and so I like it a lot. As I talked about last week, I did go down in needle size to a size 7. The pattern calls for an 8, but the Madeline Tosh DK that the sample was knit out of is a DK, but it's a heavier DK. It's almost a light worsted. And so this is more of a true DK or a lighter DK. So I went down in needle size to compensate. So I thought I was being really smart, right? And so I thought, oh, you know, I need to modify the tier sections. And the first 2 tier sections, my modifications came out almost spot on. But my last tier section, I got a little too ambitious for my boots. And it's a little bit too long, probably about 7 stitches too long, and it works out to be about an inch to an inch and a half too long. And so I wish it was a little bit tighter, and then it would make the falling of the tier sections better. But live and learn, I guess. This is all I had left of my yarn. So I did go probably as far as I could. I was getting a little nervous during the end. I always get nervous in the end if I'm running out. But I stored that in my pillow loop bag. Woo! And it's done. Another one crossed off the list. And I'm very excited to be able to wear that. In my job where I work, I have a fabulous desk. Actually, it's a large cubicle, and I have windows on sides of me so I can look out. But right above me is a vent. And although it sounds silly, I am always cold. In the winter, you'd think with that vent being on me and the heat would just pump out, but my bottom half gets freezing cold. My hands get so cold that they ache. So usually I'm wearing a hat and fingerless mitts, but in the summer with that on me, and it can be, you know, in the 90s, it's on almost constantly, and that cold air, and it's a huge ventilation system pushing on me, I'm freezing. So I will actually wear that quite a bit at work. It's nice and small. It's not super heavy, and it will be easy on, easy off, and easy to store on my desk. So I'm very excited. I'll use that most of the summer and definitely in the winter. My second finished object, which you guys haven't even seen, is a hat. I do have a lot of hats. I love to wear them. As I said, I wear them at work quite a bit. And so I started a new hat last week. And this is Earthen. So let me show you, it's that pattern there. It does come in a range of sizes, 5 sizes to be exact. It comes in child, teen, adult, adult extra large, and adult extra extra large. I knit this out of hand spun, so I had a limited amount available. So I knit the teen, which is about 20 inches to fit around your head. And I thought if it stretched a little bit, I would be okay. That called for about 200 yards, and I had 190. And I knit that out of my hand spun, as I said. I love crafting with hand spun. You never know. But this is Pigeon Roof, and it was a 40% superwash, a 40% merino, and a 20% silk. And when I spun this, I had no idea what it was going to be. I've heard fabulous things about this blend, and it really is amazing. Just enough shine so it takes the depth of color very well, and the different fibers really work together amazingly. But anyways, this is my hat. I'm so excited about it. I'm almost giddy, so I apologize. But I really like it. You know, it has that subtle striping that hand spun has quite a bit. These are the two sides of it. The brim was knit on US size 5s, and the main body was US 7s. And I'll put it on for you. So, isn't it fabulous? I really do love this hat. It isn't tight where I feel like the fabric is stretching really at all. It's more of like hugging my head. And the depth was perfect. There is a slight room at the top, probably for people with more hair than myself. But I found it amazing. It was a great knit. It was lickety split like most hat patterns are. And the instructions were good. And I'll knit it again, basically. And we'll see how this works out. I'm always a little leery with silk. I feel like it's got a lot of drape, and so I don't ever want to have so much silk that it falls out of shape. But this is only 20%, so I should be okay. But anyways, I kept that in my Girl Cave bag. And you haven't seen this one before. It is a camping one. And I just really like all the little creatures. Look at them. They're so cute. The inside, since I've never showed it, is a lime green. But I had, of 200 yards the pattern called for, I have quite a bit. I haven't weighed it yet. I don't think I have enough to do another one. But I would say I have at least 50 yards left. So this probably only took me 150 yards. So the estimates in the pattern are generous. But I would definitely rather it be generous than spot on or short. So, sorry, I gotta take a drink. This episode brought to you by Coca-Cola, the glue that holds me together. Really, I do drink a lot of Coke. Okay, so what's coming up? So I do have 2 things on the needles, and after I get done with that sweater, I'm gonna start on the other sweater on sleeves that I showed you last week. But I don't, if I need like a quick bust out project, because that shawl is going to be 1,100 yards. It's quite a knit for me, and it's going to be quite massive because I'm going to knit it as large as possible. I'm one of those people that like to try to use as much yarn as I can without being foolish. Take that for what you will. You know, a lot of times I am foolish anyways, but so that is going to be a few week project, and I might need to bust something out real quick. So I decided that I'm going to knit the Vine Loop Cowl by Melissa LaBarre, and let me pull that up for you real quick. And it looks like this. Isn't that a pretty pattern? I've knit this once before, and I actually gave it away as a gift, and I really enjoyed knitting it, and also I really like the finish product a lot more than I thought I would. I didn't know how I would feel with it. I knew the recipient would really like it, but I didn't know if it was my taste, and definitely loved it. So I've decided to knit it out of this, and hopefully the color's coming out pretty well actually. This is Becoming Art, an agave worsted in the Midnight Mountain colorway. The blend is a 70% superwash, 20% cashmere, and a 10% nylon blend. This is actually 2 skeins that I just put together. And so I'm excited. This cowl pattern calls for 400 yards. Last time I knit it, it took about 300 yards. And so I will definitely need both skeins, and I will alternate. And alternating is you use 1 row for one skein and 1 row for another skein, which basically blends the colors into looking uniform. If not, I'm afraid I'm going to have a line. And the reason for that is not that they weren't dyed together. So I'll show you Maybe I can get it. The colors are matching very well. You can hardly see a difference in the two skeins. They were dyed together. They are of the same dye lot, but the color placement in both is different. And also in some skeins, there's more of like a rust red color, and another skein there's more of a green color. And because they aren't balanced with the same color weight as each other, I'm really afraid that when I knit it, I'm gonna have a line. It's not gonna look right for that last third. And knitting is such a textual visual process as it is, and I find those lines in my knitting just distracting, and they really ruin the project for me, you know, the project at the end of the day. But I'm hoping that the slight variation of color that's in here doesn't detract from the lace. The lace is a pretty big motif, so I'm hoping that will balance it out. The last time I knit it in a solid color, and that really did look fantastic. But you know, live on the edge. I can't do the same thing every time or I would go insane. So next up, spinning. Sorry, I'm gonna take a drink. All right, so last week I was spinning on that squish fiber that was that club colorway in a blue, green, turquoisey color. That's still going on the wheel, and I actually have not spun very much of it, probably only 1/4 of an ounce. But that is because in between I wanted to do something fun. So I decided to spin my first bat. That is my first bat. This is a Becoming Art colorway that I got off of a disc stash, and it was a club colorway. I think must be almost 2 years ago she had a bat club. She doesn't have it any longer, but it's super fun. And I am hopefully going to spin this up. It's going to be probably about a worsted weight when I get done, and I'm going to apply it with the second bat, which is 2 ounces. They both were 2, and this is the second bat. And hopefully knit something for my daughter out of it. There's a little bit of sparkle. I'm trying to catch it here. These sections, this section like right here is all sparkle. So it's gonna glitter. How fun is that? Seriously? Fun. I don't have really any sparkle yarn. I think I have 2 skeins, and one I knit for my daughter. And I have 1 other skein, and then I'm gonna have this. So that to me, is gonna be fun. She's 4 though. She's a fickle 4-year-old, so we never know. You know, she might tell me she hates it and she'll never wear it. That is probably more likely. The drama of being 4. So the next thing that I am spinning, or no, that's it. Sorry, we're gonna move on to enabling. So I got a few things this week. The first thing I got is my bag. This is holding my brown-eyed Susan, and this is a Fat Squirrel Speaks bag. She had an update a week ago, I believe, and these were actually all completed, and they shipped out within 48 hours. And she had 2 designs. She had this orange design, and she had a purple design. And I'll show you the inside here. Inside fabric, if I can get a good shot of it. Nice and light and pretty. I have a fondness for orange, so it had to be mine. And you know, like anything else, you don't really need it, but so now I have 2 of her bags. But this is holding 2 skeins of yarn and my project, and it's very roomy. When I went to the park with my daughter earlier today for a few hours, I put my keys in here, I put my phone in here, and it all worked out great. So this actually probably would fit a sweater, or at least the main body and everything of a sweater. So I'm really excited about that bag. I really do like it. You know, I'm a girl, you can always use another bag. So, and the second thing I got was a club shipment. So if you watch a lot of podcasts, I'm sure you've already seen it. So I'm in the Into the World Club, and this is this month's offering. I'm actually in the Luxe Club. This is an 85% Polworth and 25% silk. And it's really great. It's a muted color, which I haven't really gotten from her before. So When I see Into the World on podcasts, it's always in that bag, and I find it really difficult to see the colors. So what I did is very carefully and loosely, I braided it up so you could see all the colors. So there's pink, blue, there's greens, and there's a dusty gray in there. It's gonna spin up really great, and I'm actually pretty excited. I put that bat on the wheel before I got this. Otherwise, this probably would have went, excuse me, on the wheel first. So one thing that everyone talks about Into the World is how well her prep is, which is the preparation of her fiber. And so as a non-spinner, I just didn't get it, right? I'm like, oh, that's great. You know, put it if I ever need fiber, I guess. You're all ranting about it, so it must be important. But so I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So this is Into the World, and that's her end. The end of the braid a lot of times is pretty compacted, depending upon several factors of the dye process, but it is very, very wide, which is to say that it's not compact. During the dyeing process, from what I understand, now I'm not a dyer, the fibers can become compact. And then when you braid it up or you ship it, you know, you're just trying to get it smaller, you're compacting it down. And so I did bring over another braid from a great dyer that I buy from all the time. And I kind of fickled with this end a little bit. Maybe I can get the other end for you. So this is her end of her fiber. Let's see. See how it's almost a little matted? So the difference is significant, almost severe. And not that this is bad. This is not bad. This is normal. I would say this is an average fiber that I get from a bump. And you can see I can pull it apart. And if I work on this fiber and I pull it, you know, I can get it to be as wide, right? But if I go further down, right, that is what a normal braid looks like. You can tease that and you can open it up. So when you spin, I can spin from this end, but most of the time you see how it's having a natural division there. You split it, and then you split it, and you split it into these strips so it's easier to manage. So if I look at Into the World as a comparison of her fibers, which are amazing, it is lofty all the way down. That splitting really is almost non-existent. And I wish you kind of had touch vision, right? This, it feels like a cloud, okay? And this, although is nice, but you can feel, it's like touching a pillow, like a nice polyester pillow, and then touching a Tempur-Pedic pillow, like a foam pillow. Now the foam pillow is great, and it has its place, and it's wonderful. But you can feel that denseness in it, right? Whereas her fibers feel like a pillow, like very loose and airy, and I can feel the air in the fiber, and when I squish it comes out a little bit. So as a spinner, it's easier to spin this. In addition, it just makes it faster, more enjoyable. My prep time, I don't have to tease those fibers apart. It's much faster, which, you know, the preparation cuts down on the amount that you can do in spinning. It's just part of the process. It's kind of like, for me, like swatching. It's not my most favorite part of the process. I apologize, that's my phone. But it's part of the overall necessity, which for me, personally, splitting up my fiber and stuff really isn't the fun of spinning. It's just prep work, so I can actually do the spinning and the plying, which is what I like about it. The other thing about this, at least this installment of Chris's Fiber Up Into the World, is that it's a blend, which is a fancy way of saying that it's not all one kind. So this other fiber that I held up, this is all a superfine merino. that is easier, from what I understand, easier to keep loftier than a blend. A blend can get weighed down from the difference of the fibers, and silk is a heavier fiber. And so to maintain a loftiness with that is really something that is sought after and is special. And so after I get done with my 2 things that I have on the wheel, I will probably start this. And my idea is to spin it and Navajo ply it into a 3-ply and get around 400 yards-ish. And so then I would have about 800 yards if I was able to do that with the 2 skeins, which may be a baby sweater or something lovely. It'll be lovely to spin no matter what I get, actually, but yay. So that was the second thing I got, and I do have double trouble. I have a double dose of her club. It's always a surprise to me what I get from her, and I'm very excited. That's my favorite one that I've gotten in a while. Oh, and the last thing, which I know you guys have seen on other podcasts, but I do want to show it, is she gives you, and I get 2 because I have 2 skeins, but she gives you nice tags that are very simplistic, but basically have the availability to write on the back of them exactly the colorway, the fiber, the weight, the wraps per inch, the yards, and other notes. Not many people actually send these. It's pretty rare, and it's very appreciated. Every single time I get one, I get a shipment, and I get these every month, I think. That's awesome. It doesn't take a lot to make me happy, but the little things, you know, for everyone, I think they add up over time. I know what I'm getting when I purchase fiber, but getting that little attention to detail is amazing. And I know they do a lot of business and they're very busy, so I very much appreciate it. So, wow, that's all the knitting. I'm going pretty quick this week. So now it's on to rant. So if you don't want to hear about my life and you only were around for the knitting, I'll see you later, and you have a wonderful week, and I thank you for stopping by. So my rants this week. I kind of have a weird story, and I don't know if it's going to be funny to anyone else but to me. But for me, it was hilarious. So I work, and I'm not going to talk about work a lot because this isn't about work. This is about knitting and fibery goodness and amazingness. But I have to share the story with someone, and my husband's been gone, and really my poor family hears me moaning and griping enough not to hear some silly story. So here it goes. Instead, I'll share it with all of you. Okay, so I work in governmental compliance for a company that offers our services, and I'm basically, to put it simply, customer service. I do a lot of other things, but this story is about my customer service that I provide. So I have a great individual who calls me now. He calls me a few times a year to help him kind of dig out of a hole he finds himself in and basically put him on a path of righteousness. So he calls me and he starts off the conversation like he always does with a laugh. And we get into it, and I was like, okay, you know, what can I help you with today? And he says, I was on the phone with the IRS. And first of all, I start freaking out. I'm pulling up publications and other things, trying to think of what he's going to ask me so I can, if I need to, refer to legal actions or notices. And I'm trying to like get set for this call. And he said, you know, their hold time was 7 minutes. Now, my first reaction is, it's tax season. 7 minutes is amazing. I can't believe their wait time is only 7 minutes. And this gentleman's on the East Coast. It's high time, middle of the day. I'm thinking this is phenomenal. So if you work for the IRS, go you guys, because 7 minutes in the middle of tax season is, I can't do that in my busy season. So that's amazing. He says, to be honest, Kayla, I don't have 7 minutes. And I'm like, okay. So he goes, so I hung up and called you on the off chance you would answer. And I'm like, okay. He's like, because, you know, I really got to pee. All right. Look, what do you say back to that? Like, great, you have to pee. What? Like, this is a business relationship. I have never met this man. I don't know what he looks like. And he is, from what I understand, and I could be mistaken, but at least elevated up in the company. You know how they have senior and presidents and all of that. And he's, not doing bad. He's got a good title. So I'm thinking, this guy just told me that he has to pee. But, oh, okay, well, we're just going with it. So I said, well, I'm really sorry to hear that. Hopefully I can help you hurry this along. So anyways, we talk for a few minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, and I basically tell him what he needs to know and solve his problem for him, which he is gracious. So once I figure out that I can solve it and tell him the very simple things that he has to do, he goes, I love you. Now again, what do I say back to that? And all I could think is, I can't fall into that trap. Have you ever fallen into that trap where someone says, I love you, and you're like, okay, I love you too, bye, because you're so used to saying it to your significant other or your kid? And all I could think was, I cannot say it back. I cannot say it back. I cannot get lured in. So I was like, okay, I really appreciate that. Freaking weird. And then he's like, I'm so excited. I am so excited. I'm going to hang up with you and call the client right away. And I was like, you should do that. You go call that client. Thinking, go get him, Tiger. I don't know what the heck you're talking about, but if you think you need to call him, you go right ahead. And he goes, but I'm not even going to pee beforehand. Again, back with the pee. Great. And he goes, I do have this wastebasket here. I could call them and pee in the wastebasket. They would never know. I just wanted to laugh because who tells some stranger on the phone that literally this is not a one-off conversation? I talk to him off and on. He's got to piss in a wastebasket basket while he's on the line with his client. Come on, be safe. Just hang up the phone and go to the bathroom. Use the facilities. Be an adult. It was so weird, and I just didn't know what to say back, and I just found the whole thing completely ridiculous and comical. I am a conservative person by nature, and I would just never think, it would never occur to me to tell the other person on the other line of the phone, I really got to take a piss right now. I don't even tell that to my husband. I just say, I have to go. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. I don't tell him that I have to use the facilities. It's so weird. But anyways, so I unfortunately don't know what happened with the waste paper basket. And I am tempted to ask. Because really at this point, what has he got to lose but tell me? I'm hoping it was just a joke, although that's not how it was delivered. But about 5 minutes later, I got an email, and all of it said was, I love you. Again, guy, what can I say back to that? Like nothing. I cannot say anything back to that. It was flattering, but I laughed for it. I had a good chuckle for hours. Because really, governmental compliance, let's all be honest with ourselves, is a bit of a dry subject. I don't have that many Spitfires giving me a call. Usually either they're very, very mad and so want to yell at someone, or very, very confused. Most of them are just very, very serious in either anger or questioning. I mean, it's really no Spitfires. So I'm taking my lumps as they come, but man, it was the highlight of my week. Having some stranger tell you he loves you, even if it's a lie, kind of boosts you right on up, eh? Okay. Speaking of work, just to let everyone know, my busy season officially starts tomorrow and Monday. And so my knitting productivity will really greatly, it will basically tank, to be honest, which is why I can't promise to have that sweater done. And basically what happens is I have to work approximately another 2 hours a day at least. And so that really comes from my knitting time and my sleeping time. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I'm not someone who can live on 3 hours of sleep. 5 maybe, but 3, no way. I just can't do it. And so I have to sacrifice my hobby and my happiness a little bit to be able to meet my increased productivity requirements. And so I'm sorry, I still will record every week. My episodes may be shorter because my content may be less, but I will do as best that I can and hopefully give you something that's wonderful. And so that's really the end of my show this week. And I just wanted to say to everyone, I thank you. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me rant a little bit, share something so kooky, and investing in me, even if it's for this hour a week. And feel free to leave a comment. Let me know, do you want a Ravelry group? Do you want the sound to be different? Does the lighting need to be different? Is there anything that you're having trouble with? Is it too loud? Am I blowing out the speakers when you wear your earphones? Is something jostling? Just let me know. I will make adjustments as I can, and I want this to be a great experience, not only for me, but for you, and I want to connect with you guys and really offer something that's wonderful. So I really hope that you take the time and give me a comment below, and in a few weeks, I hope and expect to be on iTunes and on Blip, if at all possible. So hopefully over the next week I'll be able to submit to those publications, and it will be easier to add me to your feeds and your downloads instantly. If you use Downcast, you'll be able to add me there once I get on iTunes. And so I just really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful holiday, and happy knitting!